If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
What's up, world? Isaiah here from Making It Make Sense with Isaiah, Jasper, and Theo. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify with new episodes every Friday. We also want to hear from you between episodes, so follow our Instagram at Making It Make Sense IJT or email us at makingitmakesensewithijt@gmail.com. Now listen up and let's make all the sense.
What's going on, world? Welcome back to Making It Make Sense with Isaiah, Jasper, and Theo. And today we're going to be talking about cancel culture, but most of all, freedom of speech, with a little cancel culture mixed in. What do you guys feel about that? Jasper, let's start with you.
Well, let me define freedom of speech for the people, just because they don't know what it is. Freedom of speech is a principle that supports the freedom of an individual or a community to articulate their opinions and ideas without fear of retaliation, censorship, or legal sanction.
Where do you get that definition from?
Same as you got yours, Google.
No, I actually have a copy of the Constitution here.
Look, I gave my definition. Don't look. Can I have my moment, Theo? Can I have my moment?
No, you did not. He said, actually, I have a copy of the Constitution.
Yeah, because trying to come for my definition. Can I have my moment? He have his moment. I never come for his definitions when he give them.
Wasn't that like a very conservative thing to have? I was to say.
that was the best little transition, y'all.
I'm supporter of Party One.
He was giving very Fox News.
No, but you know, the reason I'm saying that is because that's the definition that a lot of people use. But the definition of, the First Amendment definition is the United States Constitution prevents the government from making laws such as establishing such as the regulation or the establishment of religion, or prohibit the free exercise of religion or freedom of speech. So that definition it's saying is a little bit more general. Like freedom of speech is the government preventing us from being able to speak out and censoring us, not us individually. I don't know if that makes sense.
You stole my moment. See, America, I can't have a moment, y'all. I can't have a moment.
No, but let the people know why we're having this conversation.
Well, America, people, listeners out there, I was, going through my week as I usually do, and I noticed like on the, through the media and news outlets stuff like that people are being canceled or being reprimanded via the viewers and consumers because of their opinions or views, and they're being characters being assassinated or characters being attacked because they have viewpoints that people may not agree with. And so I came to this freedom of speech, because do we really have freedom of speech? And if we do, there are lines that should not be crossed, which I think there is, but there are lines that should not be crossed.
Is this personal, Jasper? Did you experience something last week or this week that brought you to this conclusion?
Well, yes, because I experienced a lot. I've been, a lot, because most of y'all know I am on a social media person, so I post stuff all the time, and I've been labeled colorist. I've been labeled as a person that don't like Black women. I've been called transphobic. I've been ripped apart, and so it's like a personal thing, because I can't say something or I can't express my understanding of something without my character being attacked, without me being accused of these things. And it's weird, because it's like we have the freedom of speech, but when one expresses their freedom and their rights, now it becomes a problem, and then they're immediately accused of these things. So I've been in a situation, and I feel like it's unfair because it's like, we should have the right to express ourselves. Yes, there's a fine line. Yes, and we shouldn't just be outright offensive or disrespectful, which some people are. But I feel like if I see something, you guys see something, you want to post it, or post it, you should be able to post it without any negative reaction or feedback. Like, people should understand this is their opinion, this is their view, and if this is what they think, this is what they think, and not be offended or assume the worst of somebody that you don't even know, because it's people that don't even know me or know you guys, and we get bamboozled with all kinds of things. It's like weird.
I
Again,
do have to.
free speech means the free public expression of opinions without censorship, interference, and restraint by the government. Go ahead, Isaiah.
And I just feel like I have to say, like, I feel compelled to say this. I just want to be clear that, and again, this is in, our experience of Jasper. I don't know there to be one transphobic bone in your body. So I just want to say that,
Well, thank you, Isaiah. Thank
in
you.
support of Jasper, because that's shit I don't like. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think, I think that's a very loaded, and obviously we speak, in support of, and in love of our trans brothers and sisters. And so I think that's a very loaded comment to make about someone, not only that you don't personally know, but from anything I have seen on Jasper's social media, I've never felt like it was transphobic, in my
Yeah,
personal opinion.
Well, thank you,
I
Isaiah.
echo that as well.
So
I've
yeah,
never, and I will be the first, second, and third person to let Jasper know, hey, that's
Oh,
some
right.
fucked up
yeah.
transphobic
We
shit.
let each other know,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
So I don't
Yeah.
feel good about that, and I think, I think that's an irresponsible comment to make about someone that has been very openly supportive alongside us, of the trans community. Those are our brothers and sisters, and so I felt really strongly about saying that. So
But
And you
thank
know
you.
what, Jasper? Correct me if I'm wrong. Jasper's social media personality is very outspoken and is very blunt and can sometimes be necessarily vulgar, because vulgarity sometimes, a good fuck, so you use the word fuck sometimes is needed in a sentence,
Oh,
and it
definitely
feels good to say.
needed.
a good
And
motherfucker is like,
yeah, sometimes it feels good, like, and Jasper's personality in the social media realm is that. And I think people, when you see a personality like that you don't know, sometimes they tend to mislabel and mishear and misread what it is that Jasper's doing. I think it's a very loaded word and mislabeling of Jasper, or the King of Shade, to say that he is transphobic. You know, say, out of all the things that Jasper posts, we're gonna take the L on that. Whoever is trying to label him as that, but I don't think. But that also goes to say, Jasper's personality in social media is someone that's supposed to be opinionated, that's supposed to be blunt about his opinions, and when he is doing that, people are bashing him and trying to bash him or anyone who's doing that. So, like, his personality isn't. He didn't become the personality that he is. I don't know where that accent just came from. He didn't just become that personality because he was giving out Bibles and feeding the homeless. Like,
right.
so it bewilders me. Like, if I was someone that presented to be like Gandhi, and then all of a sudden I'm being, like, political, and I'm being vulgar, then question it. But it's just weird. But also, people have a misconception of what freedom of speech is in terms of the First Amendment, and then these things that we do in social media. Like, social media has the right to censor us, and there are repercussions for the things that we do in social media as well. So we also have to understand that with Jasper, with your vulgarity or your outspokenness in social media, there is consequences for that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Instagram and Facebook and all these folks, they have the power to restrain or censor. And also, if you say something derogatory and untruthful about me, I have all rights to then sue your ass and take you
Yes,
to
we said
court
yes.
and liquidate all your assets and then
Liquidate
give
all
it
your
to court.
assets.
Not the ass in the says, okay.
Okay. Liquidate the ass right in your ass. I so and here's the thing too. Like I think that and while in support of Jasper, I think that there are, so I believe in freedom of speech. The thing that some of our counterparts, in different spaces, I think that I don't think it's a confusion. I feel like it's a willful ignorance of, is the fact that the statement freedom of speech also yields the question of, but are you free of the consequences that come with your freedom of speech though?
Bang,
So
bang.
that's the unfortunate, in some cases, part of it. Like, for example, for me, I personally find like when Jasper shares opinions on his social media about different things, like I find it refreshing and I find it funny. But I also I think it also, because for us, it lends like just a different lens to him, because I think also people get very wrapped up in I don't know, like almost like identity, meaning that a person shares a part of themselves that doesn't seem like something that is digestible to you, and all of a sudden there's a huge problem with it, right? It's wrong because you're sharing different parts and pieces of yourself, right? So the same way we can come together here and we can have incredibly spirited and intellectual conversations filled with depth and meaning, does not mean that he can't then go onto his own social media space and drag and read somebody for filth, because that's his
There's a duality.
Jasper
is the manifestation of that.
Of duality, 100%. And so I think a lot of that comes from like people getting very wrapped up in, okay, this is who you are, this is your persona, this is your identity, so we're going to just kind of place you in this one little stereotype and pigeonhole you, and this is the person that you are. You're not allowed to have different facets of yourself. And I think that's part of sometimes where we kind of run into this issue sometimes of freedom of speech. I personally, I think it's okay to say things, within reason sometimes, but I also think it's okay to say what you actually feel. I also think I come from the school of, you can say anything you want, it's all in the way you say it, right? True. So like, I can tell you to go fuck yourself, but as long as I say it in a I can tell you to go fuck yourself. I can just go, well, you have a great day. Bless your heart. I told you to go fuck yourself, but I didn't use the same words, did I? So,
but the effect is different.
The effect, of course, absolutely, and I agree with that. The effect is definitely different, but like, it's 100% different. But it's like, sometimes I think that's when you have to just kind of read between the lines, or kind of figure out the nuance of that, right? Like, I think like people all over the country now, like I think for a long time, like in the South, when someone would say bless your heart, like if you was from the South too, you knew they don't fuck with you. But like in other regions, then people started to learn like, oh, they just told me bless your heart, oh, they can't stand me, like, so but I digress. But Theo, what's your perception on freedom of speech and kind of,
because you're the king of it. You're the king of it.
I am the king of it. I'm very good. I love freedom of speech, but I am very, in terms of when it comes to freedom of speech, my way or my ideology is very conservative. I believe in freedom of speech as per the Constitution. And I know that I can say whatever I want, but there are consequences within a limit, though. I'm not going to go, and people love to use this analogy of, I can go into a movie theater and yell fire, and then cry and say, oh, well, I got the right to say what the fuck I want to say. I'm in America.
No, you don't.
But, no, you do not. And once again, freedom of speech is if the government is oppressing or suppressing and censoring me. The government doesn't have the right to do that. And that's why I say what I say within reason. I know I know boundaries and the perimeters in which I can go and be reckless with my mouth and with my language. I am not going to, for example, go on social media and bash Black women. We're in an era now where people are being held accountable. People like to talk about, quote unquote, cancel culture. I call it, you're being held accountable in ways that we never were before. Because before it was okay. Culture. It was okay before to be derogatory and just be plain old dirty and nasty to Black women. Today, no. I'm not going to go and say something reckless about Asian people and then cry and say, oh, well, I have the right to say those things. No, you don't have the right. You use hate speech. I'm not going to go and say something anti-Semitic because it's hate speech. I'm not going to go say something against women because it's misogyny and it could be received as hate speech. I know the boundaries. Like, I have kitchen table talk at the kitchen. And I don't bring kitchen table talk to social media or to people who are not gatekeepers of that. I think folks, if I don't want, I have an opinion about a lot of things. Just because I have an opinion doesn't mean that I need to articulate it. Like, children do that. Sometimes you have to tell, like, I have a 9-year-old nephew, God bless Frank. Sometimes I have to let Frank know, like, first of all, I'm your uncle. Don't talk to me like that. I'm an adult. Don't say that. And like, dude, do you have like censorship? Because children say things like, when I was gaining weight, Frank called me fat. Uncle Theo, you're getting fat. And just clear and simple like that, not caring about boundaries or feelings, because children, we teach children that. When I was one time I came from the gym and I stunk. He told me, Uncle Theo, you can't go out like that. You stink. He will. If your breath stink, Frank will let you know your breath stink without even a thought. Even if you're in church or you're in public or you're with other, and that's what children do. And there's a lot of children in social media that have on a mask of an adult who are saying things without boundaries and without thinking. You cannot sit in social media in 2022 and call any woman a bitch with Me Too around the corner. You cannot sit in social media and degrade Black personalities or Black women personalities and not expect a backlash. If you are, that means that you have not been cognizant of the past couple of years that have been happening. Freedom of speech. Now, the government cannot send you a letter or censor you and saying that you can't do that like they do in China. Like China, you cannot write bad about the government. The government limits how long you can stay in social media. In America, we have that freedom thanks to the First Amendment. And the First Amendment's freedom of speech and what is protected is against the government, not us individually. Because if you say the wrong fucked up shit to me, you're going to catch these hands or you're going to catch my lawyer's hands.
Not the hands. I ain't know Theo had hands, y'all.
You didn't catch hands or catch this paperwork.
I talk the talk and I fight the fight.
Because he can talk the talk, but I didn't know he could walk the walk, y'all. So,
I think, and that's the thing too. I think that it's very easy also for people to come from this place of, okay, well, there's a lot of like a place of like social policing too, if I can say that. I think that sometimes like, okay, well, some people are like, okay, well, I'm allowed to say this. And okay, but yes, you're not free of the consequences. But then also there's this understanding too of like, okay, there's certain things, and Theo, you had mentioned kitchen table talk, where I feel like there's like, I'll be totally honest, there's certain things that have been considered kitchen table talk, like in my life, maybe growing up and stuff like that, that turned into, for me as an adult, like, okay, well, I'm going to say this because not just because I can say it, but because I should say it. So it comes from, I think some things are also born of like, where's the essence of it coming from that you're speaking on, or what's the motivation behind it? Are you just saying it because you want to throw a tantrum? Or are you saying it because it is necessary to the collective consciousness of the world or this country, and what's been happening, especially in recent years, and is it pertinent to that? And I think those are questions that you should ask yourself sometimes before you throw things out there. I don't like to call it cancel culture. I like to call it accountability culture, because you don't have to. And also, I think it's like personal to it's kind of personal to each person. Like, if there's mass outrage about something one person said, then yes, sometimes you can call it like a gang mentality. But then other times it's just like, maybe what you said was actually really shitty, and that's why so many people reacted really badly to it. And then on the other side of that, it's like, okay, well, as a personal decision, like, I might just decide, like, okay, well, I don't respect or like that person, so I'm not going to listen to your music or watch your movies or buy your merchandise or whatever. Like, that's just a personal thing for me. Like, there's certain stuff right now, like, as much as I'm like, oh, I missed that song, I'm not listening to it because I don't want to listen to that particular artist, because for me it doesn't align with my values anymore because of what I found out how you like to act behind closed doors.
You better not be talking about R. Kelly.
Okay, I sure am, but like,
Theo's favorite singer, y'all.
Okay, like, not his favorite singer, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but like, that's just because it doesn't align with my values. Now, as far as like, instead of cancel culture, because I just feel like that's become like a hot button word for like far right people, that like, they like to just say stuff like, oh, that's cancel culture. No, that's you getting your accountability badge, because guess what? You need to be held accountable for being a dick. Like, I'm sorry, like, I don't know what other, like, I think instead of cancel culture, it's just like, oh, just let them be who they are. Well, listen, we've been letting certain people be who they are for like 400, 500 years, okay? And where has that gotten us? So no, sometimes you need to be dragged publicly, and you need somebody to tell you, like, hey, it's not okay for you to speak. It ends here. It's not okay for you to say it. Ends here. Like, that's it. So, it's, and again, accountability culture. Fine. If you don't want to listen to, or if I don't want to listen to your music or watch your movies or watch your TV shows or purchase your merchandise or whatever, then that's my choice. But also remember this: you're still wrong for your behavior or what you put out there into the universe. If you said something that's shitty or trashy, then yeah, you should be raked through the coals for that. Sorry. And then you can have your comeuppance and maybe find your way back to some semblance of where you were in life before. But I mean, I think people want some kind of like, instead of cancel culture, like, oh, I want a badge for speaking my mind.
Or no, because
sometimes pass culture. Guess what? Nobody asked you first. That's number one. Nobody asked you. Not one person.
But Jasper, why do you think? Because I've seen some of the shit you have written as the persona, and that shit has made my balls tingle in ways that
balls tingle.
You said what? You said what? Say it again.
Because I've seen some things that you've posted, and they've made my balls tingle. Have you guys ever been hit in your balls? That's that tingling that I'm talking about.
I don't hit balls. I never hit in balls either.
You've ever been hit in your balls? I said
no,
on your balls. Because there's some stuff that you have said that I can see why someone would say, for example, that you are not a fan of Black women. Because you're, once again, not you. I think your personality, and people need to understand that there's two different people. There is Jasper, the real person.
Absolutely.
And then there's the personality, King of Shade. And I can see why someone would say that the King of Shade will have a problem with Black women. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I post certain things from things and that I can see why someone would say he must not like Black women, but if it's
part of the game.
It's what I think is. I'm giving my opinion on the content I'm watching, and if the two people that I happen to feel like they have the worst behavior or attitude, in my opinion, I don't see it for them, and they having me dark skin, does not mean that I'm attacking them because of their skin or the skin color. Because when I talk about people or talk about women that I don't like on shows I watch, I'll give a description why I don't like them. I always explain this is why I don't like them because they did this or did that on the show. It's not their skin color. I'm not saying I don't say because they're dark I don't like them. It's because on the show they did something I didn't like or I feel like they was being this or that. So but I can see why someone would say you don't must like that one because some of your posts seem to gear towards darker skinned women. But I'm like no because one, I'm black. Two, they're my complexion. Three, my mother is a woman, a black woman. My niece is a black young girl who I love and adore. So I don't have issue with black women. But I can see why people who view my stuff would say that, and I take it personally because it's like an attack on my character. Because I know outside of Instagram, Jasper loves black women. Jasper adores black women. Jasper roots for black women. Jasper will
Amen.
fight, go to war, throw these hands for black women. So the misperception and the misrepresentation is what I'm here for because I can post something, but it does not define who I am as a person. And that's the issue I'm having with this freedom of speech, cancel culture, because it tends to define someone and that's not who they are as a person. And that's the problem with cancel culture. And cancel culture is very selective because they don't cancel white people like that. They always cancel black people. FYI America. They do. It's very selective. Very selective. And
That's why when it's time to cancel a white person, I'm all in for it. Do you guys?
yeah.
I remember, when in my mind when cancel culture started. Do you guys remember Imus in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
Don Imus used to be this guy on MSNBC when MSNBC was nothing. He was a radio personality.
I don't think I recall. Enlighten though. Go ahead, continue.
I'm gonna remind you. This comment is gonna remind you. Remember, he called a bunch of WNBA black women nappy-headed hoes.
I remember that.
Yes,
that's him.
Wow.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They,
I was gonna say,
at first, no. At first, everybody was like, that's just Imus being Imus. And then something happened.
Yes.
Where everybody got riled up and held this man accountable. And I think cancel, again, is the way that these ignorant people see it when they do something fucked up and say something fucked up. Cancel is the way that they see it to make themselves look like a victim. No, you were canceled after this whole long history that you've had, but you've always been this raggedy and nasty and racist. He apologized, and I think that Don Imus later on went on to die of cancer. Thank you, Black Jesus, and had never had a career again.
Oh, wow.
Because that's what I believe should happen with all racists. Because his comments were rooted in racism and white supremacy. And that's when I remember this quote unquote cancel culture, accountability started happening. And I was like, look at God. And then they started replacing him with different personalities, and they were trying to smooth over that they had this nasty man. And I think somebody articulated it very well that Don Imus on that day didn't choose to do anything that he hasn't been doing for the 30, 40, 50 years of his career. You guys are just holding him accountable today.
And that's the thing is like, I mean, first of all, I don't even want to dig into you fixing yourself to refer to not just a black woman, but referring to the texture of our hair. So that's off the
nappy-headed hoes. And
I would never even at specifically, and maybe this is the thing too, like there's a sensitivity, and I think we can all like speak to this like in references to our mothers and the obviously all like the women in our lives in general, but like there is no reason for you to ever be speaking on not just our hair like as a culture, as us, but you should never make one comment about a black woman's hair ever. You just be quiet. Like there's no reason for you to be saying anything about a Black woman, not once. You shouldn't even don't even look at her hair the wrong way. Just be quiet. Like, let her beautician take care of it. Like, let her take care of it. It's none of, just don't even do it. That blows my mind. That's so, like, it's both parts shocking and not. But that's the kind of stuff, like, again, like, you're free to choose your choice, but you're not free of the consequences that come with your choice. So when you say stuff like that, that's all on you because you said it. So there's no way to, you know what I mean? Like, there's no way to, especially that kind of comment, there's no other way to frame that. Like, it's not even cancel culture. It's, you're disrespectful as hell, period.
And there's no coming back from that. And I know there's some people that will be like, oh, well, I did that when I was, all within reason. Again, if you were a 12-year-old child, or you were a child, or if you didn't know any better, 36-year-old Theo has a certain level of understanding and a world experience and societal experience. Grown ass people are out there, sexually assaulting women. Grown, a little 10-year-old boy doesn't understand sexuality, doesn't understand sex. And when he, let's say a 10-year-old boy sexually assaulted or sexually touched a peer, why will I hold this child accountable for his actions when he's 30 and 40 years old? That, in my belief, I'm not going to say that, when you were 10 years old, you touch a girl in your class or a boy in your school. When you were 10 years old, what the fuck were you being exposed to that taught you to be that way? But some people are holding folks accountable for stuff they did when they were children, instead of holding the adult accountable for why children are behaving the way in which they're behaving. And then these unchecked children go into society and become 36-year-old men, 40-year-old men, traumatizing people in their societies. Again, once again, I don't believe that if you were a 36-year-old racist, when you are 60, you are just a 60-year-old racist that learned how to hide it. I don't think that you can cure racism. I don't think, once a racist, always a racist. Even if you have Black people in your family. Because I've seen people who have biracial grandchildren and they're just as nasty, just a little bit more undercover about it. If you are someone who sexually assaulted women and raped women and violated women as an adult and you're 60, that is who you are. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Well, the brain fully develops by 25, right? So
supposedly there's a bunch of Neanderthals still working around here.
But they know what they're doing. They have full well know what they're doing. So this is this but it needs to be equitable. You're going to counsel Black people when they mess up or say something. White people need to be counseled and held to the same standard. It shouldn't be selective, and certain people are protected and shielded from cancel culture. We've seen that as well, but people are protected and shielded from it. And I think it's unfortunate in it because we should if they are giving grace, we should be giving grace if we mess up as well. I just think.
But we know why, Jasper.
We know why. We know why, and it's this cancel culture. This is and this freedom of speech. There's definitely a line that people need to be more aware of. Myself. I know the lines there, so I only go so far within my line. But I do feel like it's okay we have the right to express ourselves, especially content creators or bloggers. We have the right to post things, but there's a fine line within reason to say something.
To echo something that you just said, I'm going to make an example. One that might be a little bothersome to some people. When in terms of Black folks are held accountable or canceled different than their white counterparts. That's why this thing was built with Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
To me, it seems strange. Not the nasty, ugly behavior that he manifested. The fact that, again, Bill Cosby was giving quaaludes to women at the Playboy Mansion and assaulting them and violating them. But at no point in time did Hugh Hefner, the owner of the home in which this man violated these young ladies at the time, and the home in which quaaludes were provided, was held to his foot was held to the fire. He had to die, and now there's a documentary about him, and now everyone's saying how much of a deviant this man was, when it was evident before. He put how deviant he was out there, but because he was white and untouchable, no one held it accountable.
Exactly.
Bill Cosby is an 80-something-year-old man. You motherfuckers are dragging him through the dirt, so much so that they fucked up in his case and violated his constitutional rights, that they set him free. Yeah. Because if they would have prosecuted him correctly, Bill Cosby would have been under the jail. He would have died in jail for all those fucked up things he did to all those women. Yeah. But because, again, they were trying to hold him accountable in a different way, that they didn't hold Hugh Hefner and I think Robert Polanski, who raped a 14-year-old girl at the Playboy Mansion, wasn't canceled, still making movies.
But we know why.
But yet Bill Cosby, who raped and did all these nasty things to these women, why isn't there, once again, equitable?
Yes, equitable.
Exposure and equitable accountability and equitable canceling. Mind you, Bill Cosby has never been my cup of tea. I didn't idolize Bill Cosby. I've never found Bill Cosby funny. I found his sweaters to be disgusting and disturbing. I've never watched the Cosby Show. I've never watched the Cosby Show.
I wore sweaters like that as a kid, and I loved them.
You felt empowered? You poor
go
thing.
Off.
So, he isn't an icon to me in a way, right, or legendary to me in a way that he has been for a lot of Black people and Black Americans. And I can also see how people are being protective of that, especially at his old age. But Bill Cosby was popping those quaaludes and those women when he was a grown-ass man. He knew that what he was doing was incorrect and inappropriate, and Bill Cosby should be held accountable for what the fuck he did. But what about his white counterparts who were co-conspirators, who provided the ladies and provided the drugs in their own homes, and in his own home?
In the way we, and not co-conspirators in the way that we.
So, back to what Jasper was saying, there is this one-sided accountability. Once again, R. Kelly. God knows I love me some R. Kelly, some bump and grind. And I love R. Kelly because he wrote Aaliyah's first album.
Yeah.
And if you know me, you know how much I love Aaliyah.
Yeah. The album
but how many musicians have not been doing what R. Kelly has been doing? Elvis married and had sex with a little girl. And he is the king of rock and roll and blah, 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 and blee, 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 and boop, boop, boop. A lot of his white counterparts have been doing it years before R. Kelly got the R in Robert. But R. Kelly's being dragged and is being, once again, R. Kelly is a disgusting individual for what he's done, and especially for what he fucking did to Aaliyah. He doesn't belong in jail. He doesn't belong in a psych ward. He belongs in hell.
For all the things he did to all the little girls. Every little girl every girl he touched, he should be under the jail cell.
But R. Kelly was following in the footsteps of his predecessors.
Yeah, disgusting.
Other musicians who were doing what he was doing, he had the blueprint already. Why are we not holding Elvis accountable? And not even Elvis. We don't have to go back as far as Elvis. People in the same league as R. Kelly who are white. Why are we not holding them accountable as well? There's no equity in this canceling culture. Seems to be very one-sided.
It is
like
one-sided.
Everything here in America seems to be sometimes.
It is.
And if you think about it, really, think about talk about Holly. We won't go into it obviously entirely, but think about the disgusting pedophilia that is part of the foundation of some parts of Hollywood, in general. Think of how gross that is. Like Theo was saying, the blueprint was already there, you know, just again, like I said, because of how grotesque like the pedophilia of Hollywood already was, and just the rape culture and the it's just sickening. But I digress. You know, it's
So what's the consensus? I believe in the true definition of freedom of speech, and that's the Constitution definition of freedom of speech. And I believe and support accountability culture, cancel culture, as long as it's equitable across the board. What about you guys?
But I believe in Google's definition of freedom of speech that supports the freedom of individuals or communities to articulate their opinions and ideas. I believe in that because I do believe that that is what it is. That is what freedom of speech is. It does support one's right to express their beliefs and their opinions. So I do believe that, but I also believe the definition that Theo gave, the government's version of freedom of speech, the more political, political version of freedom of speech. But I definitely think that there's a fine line as well with freedom of speech that definitely that needs to be defined more, and I definitely think that it needs to be equity when there's cancel culture, when people are being canceled for things they do, that it should be on all sides, just not one side. And if you're going to cancel someone, make sure the energy is the same for both sides, both parties. It shouldn't be one side gets a lesser amount of energy or a lesser amount of stoning or hate because of what they look like. It should be equal on all sides.
Isaiah?
and you know, I stand by I really do stand by that you are free to your speech, but you are not free of the consequences that accompany that. I think that I think everyone is everyone can deal with a little bit of accountability, you know. And I think the one thing I forgot to mention is and just to wrap it up is this: social media gives with both hands in this sense. So, you know, and same goes for freedom of speech. It gives with the hand of, this is great, I can speak my mind and say what I want, but it also gives with the hand of, okay, now I have to deal with the opinions of others and what they feel about what I said or what I did, because that's the social in social media, you know, unfortunately. So just have to be careful, and I guess kind of find the best middle ground that you can sometimes.
And you know what? Like I mentioned, I will never support anyone holding anyone accountable, trying to cancel someone for shit they did when they were children. And I mean by the legal definition of children, because even if you are a 50-something-year-old man and you're 17, when you did something, you are a child. And I don't want anyone, because trust me, if you hold me accountable for some shit I did or said when I was a child, like when I was 7 years old, I kicked this baby because everyone was giving attention to this baby.
Wow.
Kicking a baby.
She was I think she was 2 years old, and I kicked her.
Oh, you really did that?
Yeah, because everybody was giving this child attention, and no one was giving you know, Theo Fox any attention. So can you imagine somebody calling me? And what was I watching? Maybe Ninja Turtles. So I did like a Ninja Turtle kick, like, huh. And then everybody came like,
you did the Issa throws the fuck them kids.
And everybody was like, what happened? I was like, oh, I don't know. But can you imagine somebody holding me accountable to that? You get, Theo is an abuser. He has a long, extensive history of child abuse because like, some of this
Jasper,
accountability.
you heard that? Theo over here throwing shit.
Somebody, if I did that as a 36-year-old man, put me under the jail. Chop my foot off and put me under the jail. Like, if some of the stuff that people are bringing up sometimes is so egregious, it's just like, what are you talking? Like, it's weird some of the newly, because new things that are coming up with this accountability culture, and sometimes with the Me Too. And I think those people are trying to taint. When you allow those kind of things to enter, you're going to taint a beautiful thing that's happening. And those people want that to happen.
But it's happening though. That it's happening though. That's a part of the problem because it has been tainted and it has been used and it has been it's being weaponized in the wrong way. So it's happening. And it's
Because you
slowly.
guys remember Brett Kavanaugh with the Supreme Court
Yes, I remember all that
crazy
mess.
guy?
I was
Yes,
thinking
all
about
that
that
mess.
early.
Yes, all
You
that
know where
mess.
they threw it off and where they fucked up? Trying to bring up something he did when he was a child. He's a 50-something-year-old man. And when he did those things, he was a teenager. And if you are holding him accountable for some shit that happened to him when he was a teenager, now that he's going to be a Supreme Court judge and be there stuck forever, making some shitty ass rulings, that's where they fucked up. And they tainted this accountability. Because I'm sure there was some more recent shit this fucking loser did that we could have held him accountable. Because if I, once again, sexually assaulted a young lady, and excuse me if I'm being insensitive, and that is not the intent to be insensitive or re-traumatize anyone. But if I was a child and I touched someone inappropriately, we first of all needed to examine what was young Theo being exposed to at home. And I'm using myself as an example because I don't care. And then we needed to get me help. Now, if 36-year-old Theo is still, grabbing pussies like Trump, that's a problem. And this man is a deviant and lock him up. But to hold children accountable, or people who are not developmentally, they're accountable for stuff that they were exposed to, for stuff that we needed to talk about hold the adults around them accountable and the people that were supposed to be gatekeeping them away from that, because no child is walking around sexually assaulting their peers just for the shits and giggles. That child is doing that because they're screaming for help, because there's a monster under their bed, and the monster could be their uncle, their aunts, or sometimes their own parents doing stuff to them.
But the problem with that too is that they try to use the childhood to add on to the actions of them as an adult, to say, well, they did this on a child and they continue to adulthood. So they're, instead of getting them help or trying to figure out what the source of the problem was from childhood, they use it as to add to the case.
That's what R. Kelly is doing, but fuck R. Kelly.
Yeah,
R. Kelly can go
because
to
he
jail.
did that. R. Kelly used his childhood because he was molested as a child, and he used that argument, try to use that argument where I was molested as a child, and this what led to me doing
for having sex with a 13-year-old. Remember the R. Kelly tapes? Were you guys around then?
Yeah, I was around. Yeah. I was old enough to know I saw the tape too. Just fine.
Oh Lord, for him, that is no reason. Again, if you are an adult still continuing with that behavior, you are 100% accountable for whatever it is that you chose to continue.
Yeah,
that is no one's fault.
You're a deviant.
100%.
We can go sing all your quarter waters that you want about when I was a child, and they can. When you are an adult and you have control over your mind, body, and spirit, well, not your spirit, maybe Black Jesus is in control of that. But when you're in control of your decisions as an adult and you're choosing to still do those things, you are the problem. Go to jail. Go straight to hell, R. Kelly. Beat up Bill Cosby and send him under the jail. And that's why I have no sympathy for Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby was a grown-ass Negro.
Old-ass man. He was old as hell. Disgusting.
Doing what he was doing to those women. And disgusting. I don't give a fuck if it was 45 years ago. Every time I see your presence in your raggedy ass sweaters, I get traumatized.
or Jello pudding. Was it just a Jello pudding or chocolate
pudding?
That makes it like so like
nasty ass.
I
don't even like Jello pudding.
That's why I can't listen to. So to that point, that's why I don't listen to R. Kelly's music, because it's super. I don't care how much of an old school jam it is. I can't listen to Bump and Grind because I don't know who you talking about. I just don't, like, I listen to it with a different set of ears now. Like, it just does not hit the same. It's
they put
gross.
you in a fucked up predicament.
But
Yeah, because
as the listener or
no,
consumer.
it's just gross. To me, it's just gross. I can't.
But see, to me, I'm here to struggle with this. The struggle for me, I'm having is
Mm.
like he wrote a lot of music that were sung by other artists. So, like, do I just not listen to that music? That's what I'm having. It's a lot of music I love that he wrote for amazing artists.
That's a point. I know.
That's
I didn't even
I just
know
like
a lot
his
of those
voice.
songs.
He wrote a ton of music for a ton of artists, and
a ton.
Jennifer Hudson pulled one of her songs down that he wrote for her. Whitney
Where you at?
some of her songs. Yep. Whitney pulled some of her songs. So Houston family pulled some of her songs. You got Lady Gaga pulled her song they had together. Like they're pulling songs. I'm like, you know.
Celine Dion. He wrote for Celine.
He wrote for a lot of people. A lot of people. Yes.
So that's why I just had to like. I had to like at least, and that I knew too. So I had to like go. Okay, if I'm gonna start somewhere. Yeah, because I'm just not gonna listen to him, like him directly.
His own voice.
So like his own voice. I had to at least do that for me. You know what I mean?
Because
you're right,
the industry
Jasper,
was saturated with him.
Literally, like there's so many. So you know, I wouldn't be listening to nothing. Not nothing.
Yeah, here we go. Nothing from the 90s.
Yeah, because
you know, right. He was everywhere.
Nothing good because I love me some Kelly Price friend of mine remix with him and Mr. Big. So that's my jam. So I listen to that, you know. I can't not listen to Kelly Price because that's my girl. So
right,
you know, I'm like R. Kelly. Now you don't mess it up. Like it makes it awkward.
I can't do what's the song he had?
This
Ignition
is Mr.
remix.
B. How you doing?
I can't do
Contagious.
Yeah.
Contagious.
None of it. I can't listen to I Believe I Can Fly. I used to, oh my God, that's none of it. I can't do it. Because I'm like, who you flying with?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I can't do
for
it.
years. Have you guys know that song? For years I've been singing it. Fortunate to have you.
To have your love, Maxwell. Yeah.
He wrote that.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
I told you he wrote a lot of songs. He wrote a lot of songs.
And listen, and y'all know I'm hard with some Maxwell. Like I love Maxwell.
He wrote I Look to You,
brother.
He wrote I Look to You by Whitney Houston, one of her last songs. He wrote that song.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful song.
I know.
And you can't. He wrote Aaliyah's all of Aaliyah's first album. He wrote, except for the Isley Brothers song.
But see, he wrote AJ Number for a Number, so that song right there.
And now we know what that's about.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So it's like that song right there in itself tells what his mindset was at that age, and you know, at that time, yeah.
You're right.
But it's a bop because I love Aaliyah. That's a bop though. I love that song, but it's like
I know.
Yeah, but even that it's just you know, once again, these dirty raggedy men. We need to raise grown men. Stop doing raggedy, disturbing things. Hold your own self accountable. That's why I hold my own self accountable before somebody does it for me. That's why I humble myself before somebody humbles me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I correct myself before somebody's going to correct me. Don't check me because I've already checked myself 1, 2, and 3 times. And that's how we need to. Yeah, I am my biggest critic. If I am tough on you, I am even 110% tougher on myself.
I believe it.
If I have expectations of you, I have even further expectations of mine. Jasper, go fuck yourself.
I believe in you. Yes, I believe.
I believe in you and me.
I believe in you and me.
Okay, Theo, I hear you. All right.
No, but it's just like, check yourself so other people don't have to check you, and get rid of this ugly, toxic behavior that I think men and women, black and white, we all have as humans. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, humanity is just, sometimes you sit down and like, God damn, where the aliens at? Because I want to go to Mars because humans are fucked up.
Oh yeah, this planet is trash. Like, I don't even know.
Earth is ghetto.
Earth is ghetto. Yes. I don't even want to be on no.
Because if you really want to get down into it, it's just like, sometimes it makes me wonder, like, humanity is dead.
Oh, dead. Definitely dead.
And we need to start a new colony somewhere else in a new planet.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I'll sign up to go.
I
Because
really feel like you check you before they wreck you. I really just feel like
that's a
Period.
good one.
Period. I
like
Check
like
you
you
that.
check
before they
you
wreck
before they
you.
wreck you
Yes.
because other people are waiting to wreck you. So
Oh
check
yeah.
Yeah.
yourself first. So
Because
then
I
you don't
heard
have to worry about them.
R. Kelly and Bill Cosby have been doing this for years. I'm
For
36 years
years.
old.
Mhm.
How
Yeah.
old is R. Kelly, by the way?
He's your age. He's 36. I'm
Yeah, go shut the fuck.
No, he's not.
He
Jasper.
wish. And like Bill
He's
Cosby has been doing this for years. Bill Cosby could have
for
stopped
longer than
doing
we've been
this
alive.
36 years ago. He could have stopped doing this 40 years ago. And he could have been sitting in his jail cell today.
R. Kelly's
He could have.
55. R. Kelly's
He could have
55.
never.
I
R. Kelly.
did
How old
this
is R. Kelly?
40
He's
years
55.
ago.
55.
R. Kelly's
Wow.
55? Fuck.
55. He just turned
Jesus.
55 January 8th, so he just had a birthday.
Oh, really? Nobody even said anything.
I know.
Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck.
But like, but Bill Cosby, because he's the older gentleman, he's the one who paved the way for R. Kelly.
Yeah, he did.
Bill Cosby could have been an 80-something-year-old man and said 40 years ago, 45 years ago, I did these horrific things, but I have learned, I have gone to therapy, and I've tried to make amends. Wouldn't that be a different story?
I mean, it would be a different story, but I think a consequence still needs to be had.
Oh no, that's why I say he would have been in the
You
jail.
still did something wrong. Oh yeah, because I think even if he said that, no one still would be here for it. They would say, okay, you said it, but we still want your ass to go to prison.
Yeah, because you still see those guys on death row and on life in prison. They become preachers. They become saved by the white Jesus or whatever. Well, that's great. You found some peace. You're going to stay in that jail and you still going to get your lethal injection.
Oh yeah.
And where's the peace for all of the people that
there we go.
The victims,
trauma
yes,
to the victims, because now they have trauma because of the trauma that you didn't fix
for the rest of their lives. For the rest.
But you know, it would have been different instead of him having this very smug, like, you know, I'm gonna get away with this kind of personality that he has, which is maybe why I didn't like Bill Cosby anyway, because my introduction to Bill Cosby was like when he was critiquing black men about sagging their pants or whatever. I was like, if he don't shut the fuck up in his raggedy sweater.
You black man.
Sweater a lot.
Yeah, at one point in time, he was trying to act holier than thou and talking really backwards and shitty about the black community.
Oh, that's a whole lot of respectability politics that really is born in white supremacy, if we want to be honest.
Thank you. And I was like, the Bill Cosby show wasn't even all that, so he needs to stop. You are not my father figure. Like, go relax. Because I had my own who was annoying.
Like, not here for the Cosby show. That definitely wasn't the show that I looked to, or him as a father figure to look to. Definitely not. No.
And there's only like the closest thing that I like about him. Remember Ghost Dad?
Oh my gosh! I remember Ghost Dad.
I watched Ghost Dad with my dad, and me and my dad always used to have we used to do Disney all the time together. I forced him to watch Lion King until it popped, and he had to go buy me a new one. But we watched Ghost Dad, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is so cool!" And and I told my dad, if something like that happens, you need to come back and haunt me. That motherfucker is late.
I've never seen Ghost Dad.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, you gotta watch.
When did it come out? What year did it come out?
Oh, God.
I don't know. Wait, hold on, Alexa. What year did Ghost Dad by Bill Cosby come out?
Here's something I found on the web. According to fandom.com, Ghost was theatrically released on July 13th, 1990 by Paramount Pictures.
Alexa.
No, not with Demi.
I knew she was going to go say that.
Not her. We ain't talking about them.
Ghost was released on July 1990.
No. That's Ghost.
Wait,
we're talking about Ghost.
I feel like this was 1988.
It was released in 1990, by the way, yes. It was released June 29, 1990.
Yeah, I wasn't even thought of being here. See, I'm the baby of the bunch. I'm a young one here, so I wasn't born then. So.
It was so good. He was so good in that movie, and I think it was emotional. But then to think that he is so disgusting,
It's called acting,
That's
Theo.
what's so
It's
sad.
called acting. You're thespian. You know what
I
acting entails. You're
know,
not
but
being
acting makes you
yourself. So
feel something.
What he said?
Wow. Wow,
What did he say?
Jasper.
I said, Theo, you said it's acting. You know, you're a thespian. You know, that's not being yourself. It's being in a character. So he was in a character
Jasper,
portraying
you know
something
what? You
that
know
was
you
not
wrong for that.
himself. So Theo, you're a thespian. You're an actor.
Wow. What?
You know, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we'll leave it because I'm gonna go. I'm gonna fuck up Jasper.
Fuck him up.
Until
Until
next time,
next
everybody.
time.
Next time, y'all.